Hello and welcome to this special program where we're looking at the COVID-19 vaccine. Dominica received 70,000 doses of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine, a gift from the government of India on Tuesday, February 9, 2021. We are going to speak with Dr. Swinburn Augustine. He is a microbiologist and immunologist based in the United States. With me is the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Economic Affairs, Mrs. Gloria Joseph, and she will introduce Dr. Augustine. Mrs. Joseph?
Thank you very much, Mr. Teet, and it is indeed a pleasure to be here with you today and to have the distinct privilege and honor of introducing someone who I personally know and someone from my own village, the village of Delis, and we're so thrilled to have Dr. Swinburn Augustine with us, and he has been a noteworthy published scientist, scientific leader in the environmental public health space for over 13 years. Dr. Augustine currently works as microbiologist and immunologist with the United States Federal Agency. Dr. Augustine is editorial board member of the international journal Frontiers in Environmental Microbiology, Research and Public Health, Pathogens, Tropical Medicine, and Infectious Diseases, and Water. He also serves as an ad hoc reviewer for many other journals, including BMC Microbiology, Clinics in Surgery, Journal of Clinical Microbiology, and a number of other institutions. I am indeed thrilled and elated. It would take us quite a while to go through the bio of Dr. Augustine because he's also one who has achieved quite a bit in the field of science. And so I am proud to be here with us hosting this discussion, which I think is needed. The ministry that I serve is also responsible for telecommunications and broadcasting, and we consider it our distinct responsibility to bring across information to the general public, to advise, to inform, to educate, to shed knowledge, and to bring awareness, particularly on the subject of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is one that I make it my business to follow, to look at the trends and the developments. And also I am very proud that our small island, Dominica, is proving to be big among the world of nations in our ability to manage up to this point very successfully the COVID-19 virus in Dominica and to control its spread. Personally, I have taken my first dose of the vaccine, and so I'm looking forward to the discussion from Dr. Augustine. I believe it will enlighten the public quite a bit.
Thank you, Gloria, my country girl. We grew up together. Mr. Teet, just meeting you now. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my knowledge and expertise with my Dominican people.
Doc, tell us more about yourself. What is a microbiologist or immunologist? Which are the qualifications you have?
So, a microbiologist, biologists in general, deal with the processes of life, right? Trees and how they function and everything else. The microbiologists in general, we work in the dark, inside the cells. We go way inside the cells and figure out what's going on there. Disease processes, things that work right, most of them start inside of the cells. An immunologist, the immune system basically is your defense, your army, your air force, your navy. And so when foreign objects, foreign substances get into your body, the immune system mounts a defense against it. And sometimes I'll use some terms that many people will be familiar with. If the immune system is successful, then you'll have an asymptomatic infection. You won't even know that you were infected. Then if it overwhelms the immune system, then you have illnesses and possibly death. With COVID-19, many of you will have heard the term asymptomatic infections, because that's what makes it dangerous, is that people can spread it without even knowing they even had it.
How long have you been a microbiologist?
Been a microbiologist for about 18 years.
Okay, good. But let's talk COVID-19 now. What is this coronavirus? We heard about it first in December 2019. What is coronavirus? Is this something new? Is this something that we have never heard about before? What is coronavirus?
No, coronavirus is another. And as a matter of fact, a lot of the common colds that we get are caused by some coronaviruses. If we remember not too long ago, in 2012, we had a coronavirus that affected the Middle East called the Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome, caused by the MERS-CoV, the coronavirus. Then you heard about, there was a SARS-CoV-1 infection. The one in 2012 affected people in about 28 countries, killed about 800 people before it was contained. So it's not new. We've been studying them for a while. Now this one, the SARS-CoV-2, which is the one that causes COVID-19, and it was named by the World Health Organization, and given the disease process, COVID-19 was also named last year. So what is new about this one is that it found a way to, most of the coronaviruses, they're usually zoonotic, meaning that they affect animals, right? In the bushes out there. But as we keep moving into their space, as we keep developing more and more, we're pushing into their space, and they're finding ways to evolve to come from animals to humans. This one did, and did it very successfully. And it not only did it successfully, it attacks one of the receptors on our cells that is very essential for us. And it also found a way to infect people, like I said before, that are asymptomatic. So let's say if you saw somebody with a cold or the flu, they have runny nose and coughing, sneezing, so you would naturally just back away because you know something's going on. But it's kind of different when somebody's walking around you, looks completely normal, and they're spreading this deadly disease around you, and you don't even know, and they don't even know until later when it starts affecting them. So we've known those, and we've been studying them for a while, and then this one comes along. The other thing that makes it so different and dangerous is that, and caused the pandemic, is that we humans had never been exposed to it before. And so our immune system was not ready for it. So that's why we have to work so hard to try to stop it. We had no drugs against it, no vaccines against it, nothing. And we can see clearly the amount of economic and health damages that it's done.
You mentioned vaccines, and that is predominantly what we want to speak about, vaccines. What is a vaccine? So let's start with that basic thing, and then we'll get into the COVID vaccine.
A vaccine is a method, a way of having the immune system be exposed to either a heat-killed or chemically inactivated organism that the body has never seen before. We use parts of it, and then the body will make antibodies against it so that when it sees the real thing, then it can mount that defense and save us from either severe disease, hospitalizations, and even death. So that is really in basic terms what a vaccine is. It's a protein really, or something that will activate the immune system and have it make antibodies and activate the other parts of the immune system, and also to keep immunological memory so that whenever it sees that organism in real life, what we call the wild type organism, when it really does infect you, then we can have the antibodies and the immune system attack that organism, preventing us from getting severe illness and death.
Are vaccines new? Is this a new thing, vaccine?
Oh no, they've been doing vaccines for, as a matter of fact, most of us, to get into schools as kids, you had to get vaccines for measles, mumps, rubella, smallpox, polio, all those diseases that were running rampant way back when, that was just crippling and killing people all over the place. Those vaccines that we got as kids, and especially, and I'll give you an example, like the military here. Anytime you deploy to a foreign country that don't have the protections we have here and may have organisms there that we would come into contact with, and our immune system would be naive against, then they would vaccinate us. So it's not new. It's old, as a matter of fact.
But are they safe? Are vaccines safe?
Vaccines are very safe. You hear a lot of nonsense and foolishness about vaccines causing, conditions like autism and nonsense. There was this one professor, one guy in England who wrote a paper and came up with all these bad things vaccine does. That paper was debunked by the entire scientific community. You have a bunch of fringe people who come up with all this nonsense, whatever their beliefs are. But it's dangerous, because I know I have taken all kinds of vaccines, from anthrax in the military to yellow fever to plague, and I'm still here talking to you. I don't have anything wrong with me.
Well, some of the conspiracy theories I've heard around vaccines is that it changes your DNA.
You see, and I'll explain that as we talk more about the COVID vaccines. Mm-hmm. Our DNA resides inside our nucleus of the cell. So it's like in your house, you have your living room, you have your bedrooms, you have your kitchen, you have different parts. Our cells, inside our cells, compartmentalized like that as well. Our DNA resides inside our nucleus. Inside that cell, you have the cytoplasm, where you have all kinds of different things going on, but that DNA is in there. And those vaccines or anything gets nowhere near. Not even COVID doesn't even get near our DNA. If that were the case, a lot of us would be in some serious trouble.
Let's talk the COVID-19 vaccine, in particular the AstraZeneca vaccine we received from India. Dominica received 70,000 doses from India on the 9th day of February. Tell us what you know about the AstraZeneca vaccine.
Before I talk about that the AstraZeneca, there's another term that should go with AstraZeneca. It's AstraZeneca Oxford University
Yes.
vaccine. Of all the universities on earth, Oxford University and Cambridge University in England are two of the best universities on earth. Yes, we have Harvard and Yale and those, and Notre Dame, big ones. But Oxford University is one of the best universities on earth. They are very rigorous. To get into that school, I don't even know if I'd be able to get into there. But that AstraZeneca vaccine is almost the same as the other Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines. The difference is the way it's packaged. That vaccine is packaged inside of an adenovirus. It's adenovirus 26 shell. The adenovirus 26 causes minor common cold, one of the common colds. But you inactivate it and use the shell and put the mRNA for the spike protein that is on the surface of the COVID-19. You put that mRNA inside of it and use the shell as a vector. We call it a vector, but as a vehicle to get into our cells, right? Because that adenovirus knows how to get into our cell. But you use that. And with the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines, instead of putting it inside a vector, we put the mRNA, which is the message that makes the spike protein. We put that in. It's put inside of a lipid nanoparticle. I always use that example as a cod liver oil tablet, the capsule. Most people, if you try to just drink cod liver oil, they would get nauseated and probably throw up. But you want the benefits of the cod liver oil, so you put it inside of a capsule that is harmless, and when it gets inside of your stomach, the capsule dissolves, but you get the cod liver oil. Same kind of thing, because the mRNA is very, very unstable. It can degrade very rapidly, quite unlike DNA. DNA, they can find DNA from dinosaurs, right? From billions of years. They're finding DNA from like forensic scientists. If people watch those forensic shows, somebody can be dead 20, 30 years. They can trace back your parents and say, well, that person is linked to that person. So the DNA is the instructions for everything that happens to us, all our proteins. Then the DNA is translated like a language into a message, which is the mRNA, and the mRNA into the proteins, which is what the AstraZeneca things with the vaccine, or all of them. Once it's the message is, they make the spike protein, and the body makes antibodies against it, and the message itself is destroyed.
So,
I hope that was clear enough.
When you take the vaccine, does that mean you won't get COVID-19 or you won't spread? What does that mean? Taking the vaccine.
No, well, when you take the the vaccine, what it does is it activates the immune system. It says, hey, there is something foreign. It don't belong here. The mRNA makes a bunch of spike proteins, which is the protein on the surface of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. And then the body makes those antibodies against it. Now that's the first shot, right? So your body is activated then you get, within a certain period, you can still get infected with it, but then you have some protection. The AstraZeneca, you will probably have about 60%, 70% by the time you get the second shot. You have about 80% or so protection. And then after the second shot, you have immunological memory. So you can still get COVID. And the good thing about the AstraZeneca vaccine is that it is 70%. People confuse that 70%. It is 70% protection against severe illness, hospitalization, and death, but almost 100% in mild illness, right? So it's like, would you much rather get a cough from COVID and go about your daily life than be put on a ventilator and probably die?
Yes.
For those mild illnesses, it is probably about 100% effective. For severe illnesses, and that is like, putting them numbers, it's like 8 in 10 people are protected from hospitalizations and death. That is a huge number. And almost 100%, 10 out of 10, from getting mild illness. Now, they're still trying to figure out whether once you've gotten the vaccine, whether you can spread it. And that is one of the reasons that we say, after you get those vaccines, please still practice safety measures, because you want the rest of the population to get vaccinated. We need to get to about 75 to 80% of the population for us to reach herd immunity. And the other, by 70 to 80% of the Dominican population being vaccinated, or they have already had mild COVID, we will, by extension, protect those other 25% who didn't take it. Even the anti-vaxxers, by us taking it, we will protect those fools who don't want to take it.
Okay, good. But the question is, and has been the case for a little while now, how was this vaccine developed so quickly? We have had diseases around for years we're unable to vaccinate against. How, in particular, this COVID vaccine was developed so quickly?
The diseases that we had before never caused a global pandemic that shut down business. It shut down schools. It shut down all sports. No cricket, no football, nothing. No music shows, no World Creole Fest. People take notice. But not only it shut down business, it started to kill a lot of people fast. Right? In less than a year, we've had more than the United States have had almost 500,000 people dead. Almost 500,000 people in one of the most powerful and richest countries on earth dead. And so many more infections, and we don't even know the rest of all these other things that is going to cause, the long-term effects of it, right? Because we're just so concerned about the vaccine. So since we've been working, I told you that we already saw and knew about those coronaviruses before, with the Middle East one and the other one, SARS-CoV-1. People have been working on those vaccines for years to try to figure it out. Now, imagine in the middle of a pandemic, and this is an analogy that I love to give analogies. I like to break things down into its simplest parts. If you want to get a house built, we know it takes months to get your house built. Probably even longer than it would here in Dominica. If you have all the financial resources on earth, and if you have all of the best builders at your available to you right then and there, it wouldn't take you very long to build that house, especially if you already knew what the plan is, what kind of house you wanted, and you had some idea, just like we had with the COVID-19. I mean, with COVID, with the coronaviruses, you already had some information. People were already working on it. Now you have a pandemic, and now you have governments from all over the world with all the resources you need. Everything, the whole world is focused on building your house. The whole world is focused on getting out of this pandemic. All the scientists, all the pharmaceutical companies, everything else is of no significance until we can get rid of this pandemic. That is why. And we also had technologies like mRNA that we have been testing for years. I did mRNA work, and in 2000, in the year 2000, when I was in graduate school, in medical school, we had a summer of intense biotechnology, a biotechnology course from 8 in the morning till 2 the next morning every day, all summer long, to manipulate DNA, RNA, and proteins. So that is not new. If I knew it then, and others were doing it before. So that's not new, and it's, if you just take the analogy I gave, you can understand why when the past administration here came up with Operation Warp Speed, meaning that we are going to give you all the resources you need. Just focus on this alone, and you have all governments around the world doing the exact same thing. It won't take long to build your house.
But you said the vaccines are safe. You've said that if we take it, we can achieve herd immunity. We'll talk about herd immunity in a while. But you are, in fact, just encouraging everyone to take the vaccine.
I would encourage them. Look, my family, my uncles in Dalis and aunts in Dalis, I would tell them to. As a matter of fact, after that interview I just did, one of them called me and said, you know what? I know you would, I was on the fence about that vaccine, but I know you would not tell me to take something that would kill me. That was my Uncle Felix in Dalis that called me right after an interview this morning on DBS. And my mom is 77 years old. She's in St. Thomas. I told her to get in the quickest line she can get to get that vaccine. My dad in Canada, same thing. My daughter here is an emergency medicine physician. Right here, she's on the front line of COVID in the emergency rooms. She has taken both shots. And as soon as, and I understand, I'm raring to get mine, but I understand that it's best the people are on the front lines, the essential workers, the nurses, the physicians, those that work in the hospitals, janitors, everything, those that work in the grocery stores, teachers, I think they should be at the front of the line before I do, because I can stay home and protect myself. I'm working from home. Most people don't have that choice. So they should be protected, because we have to go to the grocery stores. They have to work. They need to be protected first. So as soon as I can, I sure as heck will be going to get mine.
But you mentioned...
Now, I'm not telling anybody to take it. I am just saying that that is the only way. That is the only way. Not herbs, not prayer, none of those things. It is that is going to get us. Now, all those things can help. The prayer will help us make the right decision. The vaccines, plus social distancing and the masks and hygiene until we get to herd immunity, that is the only thing that's going to get us back to normal.
You mentioned prayer. You mentioned other things. You know, we in Dominica, we like our little teas, we like our little herbs. People might say, okay, I might just take a little ginger for that. That won't do me anything. What would you say to people like that?
Man, look, I take ginger. I drink ginger tea every day, right here in Ohio. But I don't drink it because I think it's going to help me from COVID. I drink it because I like ginger tea anyways. And No, those things may help, but we have not done any studies on it. Now, what I would tell people is this, especially for us Black people. We are 4 to 5 times more likely to die from COVID than other races, especially those of us of minorities, right? So, COVID to me, in my personal opinion, is like gambling with my life, and there is a 50-50 chance that if I get it, I will die. That is a chance that I do not want to take with my life. And I would encourage people to think seriously about that. Religion, yes. I grew up in the Pentecostal church. Gloria knows. I was playing the guitar and singing and writing songs in the church when Pastor Bell was there in Goodwill, and also with Pastor St. Green Davis. I played the guitar in the church. I played in the crusades. When singers, James Niles and the rest of those singers from the Caribbean would come to crusades, I played the guitar in that church. I know Pastor Bell encouraged me. My mom, as a matter of fact, wanted me to be an evangelist. She was upset when I didn't go into that ministry. My family, my uncle Sam, built that Pentecostal church in Maho. His wife is the pastor there now. My other uncle built one of the biggest churches in St. Thomas. Right now, he's there preaching. But the Bible didn't make us stupid. If we don't do our physicals and diseases start to eat us from the inside, by the time you run, when all those going up to the altar calls for healing, if you do not go to the medical doctors, I've never seen a pastor who's not a medical doctor do surgery on anyone. Now, if I want fish, I go to a fisherman. They're the ones who fish. If I want ground provisions, the farmers provide. The medical doctors, they do their treatments and surgeries and stuff. The scientists provide the data and the studies that the medical doctors use. So each of us have our roles to play in society. And I find it offensive sometimes for people without medical knowledge to be giving medical advice. I don't know if you have some pain, I don't think you would feel comfortable running to the good mechanic that fixes your car to ask him about this pain you have in your chest. I don't know anybody who would, but yet that's what people want to do with a pandemic that is killing so many people around the world.
Okay.
That's my take on it.
Herd immunity, you mentioned it a few times. Can you just define in layman's terms what is herd immunity?
So you have a herd of sheep, right? You have a shepherd and a herd of sheep, because a lot of people have sheep and a lot of people have cattle or chicken. If something infects one, it is liable to infect all the rest of them, and then you lose your whole herd. But studies have shown that whether through natural infections, that means infections with COVID or any other organism, that if you get that immunity, and then at least 70% at least 70% of that population of sheep are protected, that by extension will rub off on the other 20-30% of sheep. They won't, because the infection can only spread among them. But if they're not clustered, together in one little cage, because the 30% is not all going to be in one place. You know where they can spread it? The 70% of us are spread as well. So that the chances of you meeting another person to give it to them are very low. You understand? I hope you
Yes,
understand what I'm
yes.
saying.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like the 30% is clustered. It's the misunderstanding that, okay, if 70% is of the population is 70% of the population is protected, then the other 30% can spread among themselves. Yes, they can, but they're not likely to meet each other regularly. You see what I'm saying? Unless
Yes.
you live all 30 of you live in the same house. But if one of the 30% is in Grand Bay, the other one is in Cassie Bruce, the other one's in Dalis, and the other one is all over the parts of the island, moving around, the chances of you all meeting together and giving it to each other, that 30% is very low. In quite contrast with everybody, nobody is protected. Then we all just running into each other. Everybody you meet is just spreading it. So that's the how herd immunity works.
All right. Doc, what do you think has contributed so far to the success Dominica has had in the fight against COVID-19? Our numbers remain low. We have not had any deaths. Most cases we have heard are asymptomatic. What do you think has contributed to that?
Look, when COVID started, right? A lot of us of Dominican heritage were really concerned when we were seeing the number of deaths.
Sure.
And I even I was on Kyrie FM, and I was on Q95 twice, on Q95 on a long show, and then with Matt. There were a lot of people with all this advice and all these misconceptions. If we compare common logic, right? I'm just going to use to answer your question, I'm just going to use common logic. And throw it back, what did the United States do wrong that caused us to have 500,000 people? It started right at the top of the government, giving false misinformation, telling people to inject themselves with Clorox and Lysol, and saying that COVID-19 was a hoax. It's there. It's in the public space. It's in the news. That was nonsense. Now, it has to be attributed to something the government and the public health officials did right. I am so proud of Dominica. I've always loved Dominica, love my dailies. But if there is one time I have been proud of where I'm from, it's that Dominica is one of the few places on the planet that has 0 deaths from this thing. Yep. All the big, powerful, rich countries with all this intelligence and all that stuff, and Dominica has 0 deaths, and then the United States have 500,000. I mean, come on, 500,000, 70,000 goes into 500,000 7-point-something times. That means it would kill everybody in Dominica about 7 times, and then go Martinique and kill some more, and probably St. Lucia and other islands. So that has to be attributed directly to the government and the advice of public health officials, but most importantly, the trust that the people had in their government and their public health officials, because they did it. And I was telling my uncle this morning, he's in Dalis, so I was relaying this, what happened. Something happened. I remember early in the pandemic, when somebody came from England and went up to Dalis, and then there started to be a number of cases, and the people blocked the road in Bois Belleville. Gloria know exactly where that is. They blocked the road between Dalis and Boetica. I was saying there were people from Dalis, we quarantined the whole village. People were laughing, but I thought that that was very good. What it said to me is that the people were taking it that seriously that they were ready to shut down a whole village. So that you cannot go in or out, you get your thing over there, you stay there with it, because you're not gonna come give it to us. Because that said so much to me. While people were laughing, I thought, man, they took it very seriously. And you see, look what the results are. So regardless, people need to put politics behind and say, c'est bon, c'est bon. That is what I can say.
My final question re the vaccines is, why 2 doses?
The first dose, and it's just like the natural infection with the virus, but then you only got a minor case. The first dose is to signal the immune system and say, yo, something is wrong. The enemy is at the gate. The enemy is here. Get your defenses ready, make antibodies, pull up the other parts of the immune system that helps to fight and to overcome foreign invaders of our bodies. The second dose is now you activated the immune system. The second dose is a booster, it boosts. And as when the second dose comes, it ramps up. I mean, it ramps up the number of antibodies by how many folds? A lot more. And then it also retains immunological memory, so that the next time when it sees that real thing, the real virus, by the time it comes in, you get a huge response to the point where you won't even know you get it, because it cannot, the antibodies blocks it, it shuts the door, it cannot enter our cells and therefore cannot go in and cannot cause infection. So there are some though that are coming out, like the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which is only 1 dose, and it will do the same thing. But with the variants, they're finding that maybe we may need another one at some other point on, if we don't stop the spread, if we don't stop the foolishness, and we need to wear our masks and wear social distance until, like we say, we've reached that herd immunity which can protect all of us.
All right, Doc, closing remarks?
My closing remarks is, look, I love my country, I love our culture, I love our food, I love our music. I love our 365 rivers. Dominica has always had a bunch of smart people, even the ones who didn't go to high school. One of the smartest people I know on earth is, Gloria knows him, we used to call him Daddy, Mr. Arons, my grandfather. This man always used to say, éducation sans l'esprit, c'est not. Education without common sense is 0. And I think Dominica has a lot of people who know deep inside of them that this virus is not right. And they know that they have to protect themselves. But in this age with so much damn misinformation, I don't know what it is these people gain from wanting to see so many people dead. I will tell them, I cannot wait to take the vaccine. My daughter has taken it. She had no side effects. And if you get a few side effects, it is because it is activating the immune system. It is letting the immune system know that thing, when you feel, that meant that the immune system was right there. That swelling you saw, that meant that the immune system was right there on your arm. That it was starting to break it down and take it in so that it could make those antibodies to protect you. Don't be foolish. stay smart. Dominica has always been resilient in the face of, 1979 Hurricane David. Dominica had Tropical Storm Erica, it destroys everything. Maria, all those things come, and we still always build back and just keep moving forward. We will do that the same way. With this pandemic, it will end. And you all already have the tools. You all have the vaccine. Look, if I could take a plane and come down and come get the vaccine down there because you all have less people than here, I'd run down and come get that vaccine, but then you all quarantine me for 14 days. But you all will quarantine me as soon as I get off the plane, which is one of the things that have protected Dominica. So I applaud our country and our leaders, and don't listen to the non-experts. And there's the last thing I want to say is this. I'm going to pull it up because I've kept it. A British philosopher called Bertrand Russell, in the last century, he said, the whole problem with the world is that fools and fanatics are always so certain of themselves, and wiser people are so full of doubt. Because when we scientists, we question ourselves so much. When we do these experiments, we want to make sure that what we are telling the world is right. But these fools are walking around telling people stuff that they have no evidence against. And they down some rabbit hole with some conspiracy theories and getting people killed. Dominica, don't be stupid. I know you all are smart. That's where I'm from. That's where I got this smart from. I didn't get this being smart from the United States. I got it right there in Daly's. And I would not tell my uncles and my mom. And behind me, this picture right there you're seeing there with that little light, that is Mr. Aaron's picture there. That man will look over me because just like he looked over the village and made sure everybody did right in that village. That is where I am with this thing. And stay safe. We will get out of it. Just like those things are just for a season to test us. But Dominica is coming out of it shining. And the rest of the world will look at Dominica as an example. They're already using y'all as a climate change, as one of the places that's going to be a climate change example for the world. Resilient place. Stay resilient. And show that, you know what, people who think they're smarter than everybody else and just with no proof want to tell people things about vaccines. They want to be experts in things they have no idea about. A smart person knows one of the things that we know is that the smarter you become, the more you realize how much you don't know. I know what I don't know. I will never go try to give advice to a mechanic on how to fix my car. I will bring my car and I will leave it there. And then I'll come back and trust and have faith that he'll do it right. That's how I think we should leave medical advice to medical people and leave scientific advice to scientific people. That is what we should do. And I wish everybody the best. Can't wait to come back home.
All right. Thank you, Doc. Thank you for joining us. And we hope to see you back soon.
Yes, after COVID.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So it's been a pleasure and an honor to have you, Dr. Augustine. I think you shed quite a bit of light, quite a bit of insight, knowledge, wisdom, you name it. We thank you for taking the time off your very important and very busy schedule. I'm certain that you could be in a lab now or something doing so much But we thank you for the contribution that you're making to nation building. You're not here, but you're contributing from the distance. And those of us here are doing our best to play our part in building resilience in Dominica, in every system, in every sector. And the words that you have shared with us will go across various media, various platforms, and we will ensure that the public, the general public, is well sensitized and well informed, which is part of our mandate at GIS. So on behalf of all of us, we thank you for your time and your contribution.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Doctor. All right. Thank you. You were tuned in to a special program where we looked at the COVID-19 vaccine. Our guest was Dr. Swinburn Augustine, a native of Dallas, who is currently residing in Ohio in the United States, who works as a microbiologist and immunologist. And you heard his advice: take the vaccine so we can get out of this pandemic. Thank you for joining us.